The unexpected call, Captain Jackson Reed stood at attention in the pristine white briefing room of the Human Defense Coalition headquarters. The holographic display before him showed the face of Admiral Chen, whose expression carried the weight of intergalactic politics. Outside the massive windows, Earth's orbital stations glittered like scattered diamonds against the backdrop of space. Captain Reed, your new assignment is unlike anything you've handled before, Admiral Chen began, his voice carrying a note of caution. You're being transferred to the Nexarian Empire as a diplomatic protector. Jackson's military training kept his face neutral, but inside, curiosity sparked. The Nexarians were one of the most advanced alien civilizations humanity had encountered. Their empire stretched across 12 star systems, and their technology far exceeded human capabilities. Peace treaties between their species were still fragile, maintained through careful diplomatic balance. Your charge will be Princess Celeste, daughter of Empress Valdara. Intelligence suggests there have been multiple attempts on her life. The Empress specifically requested a human protector, believing it would demonstrate trust between our peoples. The hologram shifted to show an image of the princess. Jackson found himself staring at one of the most striking beings he had ever seen. Princess Celeste had the typical Nexarian features, luminescent skin that seemed to glow within her starlight, silver hair that moved like liquid mercury, and eyes that shifted color from deep purple to brilliant blue. But there was something else in her expression, a defiance that spoke of hidden depths. The princess has a reputation for being rebellious, Admiral Chen continued. She often ventures into dangerous parts of their capital city and has been known to disappear for days. Your job is to keep her alive and maintain diplomatic relations. This mission is crucial for the peace process between our species. Arrival. On Nexus Prime, 3 days later, Jackson's transport ship descended through the swirling clouds of Nexus Prime, the Nexarian homeworld. The planet's surface was a breathtaking mix of crystalline cities that rose like frozen music from landscape, that seemed painted in shades of lavender and gold. Twin suns cast everything in an ethereal glow that made the entire world look like a living dream. The Imperial Palace stood at the heart of the capital city, its spires reaching toward the sky like fingers of pure light. As Jackson's shuttle approached the landing platform, he could see the intricate patterns carved into the building's surface, patterns that seemed to pulse with their own internal rhythm. Commander Thorne, a tall Nexarian with silver markings across his temples, greeted Jackson. At the landing platform, his expression was polite but distant, the kind of courtesy shown to necessary but unwelcome guests. Captain Reed, welcome to Nexus Prime. I am Commander Thorne, head of Palace Security. The Empress is eager to meet you, though I must admit, many of us question the wisdom of entrusting the princess's safety to an outsider. As they walked through corridors lined with walls that seemed to be made of living crystal, Jackson observed everything with professional interest. Guards were positioned at strategic points, but their weapons were unlike anything in human arsenals. The technology here was so advanced, it bordered on magic. Tell me about the threats against the princess, Jackson said as they moved through the palace. Commander Thorne's expression darkened. There have been 7 attempts in the past year. Some appear to be from off-world assassins, others from within our own political factions. Princess Celeste has many who disapprove of her modern views about cooperation with other species, including humans. Meeting the Empress, the throne room was a vast chamber where light seemed to dance in the air itself. Empress Valdara sat upon a throne that appeared to be carved from a single massive crystal. Her presence filled the room with an almost tangible authority. She was beautiful in the way that dangerous things often are, with an intelligence in her eyes that suggested she saw far more than she revealed. Captain Reed, her voice carried the musical quality common to her species. I thank you for accepting this assignment. My daughter is precious to me, but she is also vital to the future of our empire. Recent events have made it clear that she needs protection from those who would use her for their own purposes. Before Jackson could respond, a commotion erupted in the corridor outside. Raised voices, the sound of running feet, and then the massive doors burst open. Princess Celeste strode into the throne room, her silver hair disheveled and her clothes bearing the unmistakable signs of a street fight. Behind her trailed several embarrassed-looking guards. "Mother, I don't need a babysitter, especially not a human one," she declared, her color-shifting eyes now blazing with indignation. "I can take care of myself." Up close, Princess Celeste was even more striking than her holographic image. But it was her presence that truly captured Jackson's attention. There was an energy about her, something that made the air itself seem to vibrate. When she moved, small objects nearby seemed to shift slightly, as if responding to an invisible force. "Celeste," the Empress's voice carried warning, "Captain Reed is here for your protection. There are forces at work that you do not fully understand." The princess turned her blazing gaze on Jackson, studying him with an intensity that made him feel as though she was looking into his very soul. "So you're my new shadow. Let me make something clear. Human. I won't be locked away in this palace while the galaxy burns around us. If you want to protect me, you'll have to keep up." The first test, that very evening, during a diplomatic reception. For visiting ambassadors from various worlds, Jackson got his first real taste of what protecting Princess Celeste would entail. The ballroom was filled with beings from dozens of different species, all gathered to celebrate a new trade agreement. The princess moved through the crowd with grace. But Jackson could see the tension in her posture, the way her eyes constantly searched the room. "She's looking for trouble," Commander Thorne murmured to Jackson as they watched from the sidelines. "She always is." As if summoned by his words, trouble found them. A figure in dark robes moved through the crowd, weaving between dancers and diplomats with suspicious purpose. Jackson's training kicked in immediately. The way the figure moved, the deliberate path toward the princess, the barely concealed bulge of weapons beneath the robes. "Assassin," Jackson breathed, already moving. He pushed through the crowd, but the assassin was faster. A blade flashed in the crystalline light as the robed figure lunged toward Princess Celeste. Time seemed to slow as Jackson threw himself forward, knowing he wouldn't reach her in time. Then something extraordinary happened. Princess Celeste raised her hand, and the assassin stopped midair as if frozen in place. The blade hung inches from her throat, suspended by some invisible force. Around them, the music faltered, and conversations died as guests stared in shock. The princess's eyes had changed, now glowing with the same inner light that illuminated her skin. Energy crackled around her fingers like controlled lightning. With a gesture, she sent the assassin flying backward into a wall where he crumpled unconscious. In the stunned silence that followed, Princess Celeste lowered her hand and smoothed her dress as if nothing unusual had happened. But Jackson could see the fear in the eyes of the other guests. The way they stepped back from her as though she had revealed herself to be something dangerous and unknown. "Well," she said, her voice carrying forced lightness, "I suppose that answers the question about whether I need protection." But as Jackson looked around the room at the faces of fear and suspicion, he realized that Princess Celeste's greatest threat might not come from assassins in the shadows. Her own people were afraid of her, and fear had a way of turning even allies into enemies. The Empress appeared at her daughter's side, her expression unreadable. "Perhaps it would be best if you retired for the evening, my dear?" As the princess left the ballroom, Jackson followed, his mind racing with questions. What exactly was Princess Celeste? What were these powers she possessed? And why did he get the feeling that protecting her was going to be far more complicated than keeping assassins at bay? The real question that haunted him as they walked through the crystal corridors was whether he was protecting her from the galaxy, or protecting the galaxy from her. Escape to the underground, the morning after the assassination attempt. Princess Celeste stood on her private balcony, overlooking the crystal gardens of the palace. The twin suns of Nexus Prime cast long shadows across the courtyard, but the beauty of the scene couldn't mask the tension that filled the air. Word of her display of power had spread throughout the palace like wildfire. Jackson approached quietly, noting how she held herself with careful control. After witnessing what she could do, he understood why the Empress had requested human protection. It wasn't just about keeping assassins away from the princess. It was about keeping the princess's secret contained. "They're all afraid of me now," Celeste said without turning around. Her voice carried a weariness that seemed far too old for someone so young. I can feel it in the way they look at me, the way conversations stop when I enter a room. Powers, Jackson said carefully. How long have you had them? She finally turned to face him, her color-shifting eyes now a deep shade of violet that reminded him of storm clouds. Since I was a child, Mother always told me to hide them, that the people weren't ready to understand. But hiding gets harder. Every day, especially when people keep trying to kill me. Before Jackson could respond, Commander Thorne burst onto the balcony, his usual composed demeanor replaced by urgency. Princess, you must come inside immediately. We've intercepted communications. About another attempt? This time, they know about your abilities. Celeste's expression hardened. Then hiding is no longer an option. She turned to Jackson. I know a place where we can find answers, but it means leaving the palace. Are you willing to trust me? Looking into her eyes, Jackson made a decision that would change everything. Lead the way. Within the hour, they had slipped away from the palace using secret passages that Celeste knew like the back of her hand. She led him through the lower levels of the city where the crystalline buildings gave way to older structures built from stone and metal. This was a part of Nexus's prime that tourists never saw, where aliens from dozens of worlds lived and worked in the shadows of the gleaming spires above. There's someone here who might have answers, Celeste explained as they navigated through crowded marketplaces filled with exotic goods and strange smells. Dr. Vega has been studying ancient artifacts for decades. If anyone knows what I am, it's her. It's the underground scholar DR. Vega's laboratory was hidden beneath an old equipment shop in the merchant quarter. The narrow stairs led down into a vast underground chamber filled with artifacts from across the galaxy. Ancient stones covered in unknown writings, crystalline, formations that hummed with energy, and technological devices that seemed to blend science with something approaching magic. Dr. Vega herself was an elderly Nixarian whose silver hair had turned to pure white with age. Her eyes, however, remained sharp and intelligent as she studied Princess Celeste with obvious fascination. So the rumors are true? Dr. Vega said, her voice carrying the excitement of a scholar on the verge of a great discovery. I could manipulate the quantum fields directly. I've been waiting my entire career to meet someone like you. She led them deeper into the laboratory, past shelves lined with books written in languages Jackson couldn't identify. At the center of the chamber stood a circular platform covered in intricate carvings that seemed to shift and change when he looked at them directly. This is a fragment of the Nexus Gate, Dr. Vega explained, an ancient transportation device. Built by the first civilization to inhabit this galaxy, according to legend, it could only be operated by beings who existed between worlds, bridging the gap between different forms of life. Princess Celeste approached the platform cautiously. As she drew near, the carvings began to glow with the same inner light that emanated from her skin. The air around the platform shimmered, and for a moment, Jackson could swear he saw glimpses of other places, other worlds flickering in and out of existence. What does this mean? Celeste asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Dr. Vega's expression grew serious. It means you're not just a princess with unusual abilities. You're a bridge walker, a being capable of connecting different realities, different species, different ways of existence. Your bloodline carries genetic markers from multiple worlds. The revelation hit Jackson like a physical blow. No wonder various factions wanted to capture or kill her. With abilities like that, she could be used as a weapon or a tool for unimaginable purposes. The hunter arrives, their moment of discovery was shattered by the sound of explosions. Above, dust rained from the ceiling as the building shook, an emergency. Alarms began wailing throughout the underground complex. Kronos, Dr. Vega breathed, her face pale with fear. He's found us. Who's Kronos? Jackson demanded, already drawing his weapon and moving to protect Celeste. A bounty hunter, Celeste answered, her own fear evident. He's been tracking me for months. They say he's never failed to bring in a target. Heavy footsteps echoed on the stairs, accompanied by the whine of charging energy weapons. Dr. Vega quickly activated a hidden panel in the wall, revealing a narrow escape tunnel. Go, she urged them. The tunnel leads to the old mining shafts. Beneath the city, I'll hold him off as long as I can. We're not leaving you, Celeste protested, but the older woman pushed her toward the tunnel. You're too important to risk. The galaxy needs bridgewalkers now more than ever. War is coming between the human and Nexarian empires, and you might be the only one who can prevent it. As if summoned by her words, a massive figure appeared at the bottom of the stairs. Kronos was unlike any being Jackson had ever seen, standing. Over 7 feet tall with mechanical augmentations covering half his body. His organic eye glowed red in the dim light, while his cybernetic one scanned the room with calculating precision. Princess Celeste. His voice was a mechanical rasp that sent chills down Jackson's spine. Admiral Blackwood sends his regards. You're coming with me. The mention of Admiral Blackwood made Jackson's blood run cold. The human fleet commander was supposed to be an ally, working toward peace between the species. If he was behind this, it meant the conspiracy went far deeper than anyone had imagined. Kronos raised a weapon that looked like it could punch holes through starship hulls. Celeste stepped forward, her eyes beginning to glow with that inner light. But Jackson grabbed her arm. The tunnel, he urged. Can't fight him here. Too many innocent people could get hurt. Flight through the depths. The escape tunnel led them into a maze of abandoned mining shafts that stretched for miles beneath the city. Ancient excavation equipment sat covered in dust, while the walls showed signs of mineral veins that had been stripped clean centuries ago. The air was thick and stale, making every breath a conscious effort. Behind them, they could hear Kronos destroying everything in his path as he pursued them. His augmented strength allowed him to tear through barriers. That would stop normal beings, and his cybernetic enhancements gave him tracking abilities that made hiding nearly impossible. He's not going to give up, Celeste said as they paused at a junction between 3 different tunnels. In every minute we run, more people are in danger because of me. That's not your fault, Jackson replied firmly. You didn't ask for these abilities, and you're not responsible for how others choose to use them. She looked at him with an expression of surprise, as if she hadn't expected such understanding from a human. Most people see me as either a weapon to be used or a threat to be eliminated. You're the first person who's treated me like just a person. Before Jackson could respond, the sound of approaching footsteps echoed through the tunnels. But these weren't the heavy mechanical steps of Kronos. Someone else was down here with them. A figure emerged from the shadows, and Jackson immediately recognized her from intelligence briefings. Zara, one of Princess Celeste's childhood friends who had been reported missing 6 months ago, but something was wrong with her appearance. Her skin had taken on a grayish pallor, and her eyes held a vacant quality that suggested she wasn't entirely in control of her own actions. Celeste Zara's voice carried an odd, echoing quality. You need to come home. Mother is worried about you. Princess Celeste stepped back in shock. Zara, what's happened to you? Where have you been? I've been learning the truth, Zara replied, her movements mechanical and unnatural.
The truth
About what you really are, what you're meant to become. The bridgewalkers weren't meant to bring peace, Celeste. They were meant to bring order through control. As she spoke, other figures emerged from the surrounding tunnels. Jackson recognized some of them as palace staff who had disappeared over the past year. All of them shared the same grayish skin tone and vacant expressions. They're being controlled, Celeste whispered in horror. Someone is using them as puppets. The controlled figures began to advance, moving with eerie coordination. Jackson realized that fighting them would mean harming innocent people who were victims themselves. But running was becoming increasingly difficult as more figures appeared. To block their escape routes. Celeste, Jackson said urgently. Can your powers break whatever's controlling them? She looked uncertain. I don't know. I've never tried to undo someone else's manipulation before. What if I hurt them instead? The sound of Kronos' approach grew louder, and Jackson could see the red glow of his cybernetic eye reflecting off the tunnel walls. They were trapped between the controlled civilians and a mechanical monster with nowhere left to run. Sometimes, Jackson said, checking his weapons charge, you have to take risks to save people. I believe in you, Princess. Your powers don't make you a weapon. They make you someone who can help others. Princess Celeste took a deep breath and stepped forward, her eyes beginning to glow with that familiar inner light. But this time, instead of using her abilities to attack or defend, she reached out with them, trying to touch the minds of her controlled friends with gentle healing energy. The fate of everyone in the tunnels, and perhaps the galaxy itself, hung in the balance of her next decision. The power of healing Princess Celeste closed her eyes and extended her consciousness outward, feeling for the alien presence that had taken control of her friends. The energy she projected was different from what Jackson had witnessed before, gentler but somehow more profound. Instead of the crackling lightning he had seen at the palace, this power flowed like warm water, seeking to heal rather than harm. One by one, the controlled figures stopped their advance. The grayish pallor began to fade from their skin, and awareness returned to their eyes. Zara was the first to fully recover, blinking in confusion before tears began streaming down her face. "Celeste," she sobbed, "I'm so sorry. I couldn't control myself. There was something in my mind making me say those things, making me believe them." The princess caught her friend in a fierce embrace. "It's not your fault. Someone used you, used all of you, but you're free now." The moment of reunion was shattered. By the arrival of Kronos, a mechanical bounty hunter emerged from the main tunnel, his augmented form barely fitting through the passage, his red cybernetic eye fixed on Princess Celeste with predatory intensity. Impressive display, his mechanical voice echoed through the chamber. "Admiral Blackwood will be pleased to learn the extent of your abilities. You'll make an excellent weapon once we've properly conditioned you." Jackson stepped between the bounty hunter and the princess, his weapon raised despite knowing it would likely prove ineffective against Kronos' enhanced armor. "Over my dead body." "That can be arranged," Kronos replied, raising his massive cannon. But before either combatant could fire, the tunnel system began to shake violently. Dust and debris rained from the ceiling as a new voice echoed through the chambers, speaking in the ancient Nexarian language. The words seemed to come from the very walls themselves. The Oracle, Celeste, breathed in recognition. "She's awakening." "Ancient Guardian," the shaking intensified, and sections of the tunnel walls began to crack and crumble, revealing chambers that had been sealed for millennia. Ancient crystalline formations emerged from behind the stone, pulsing with the same energy that flowed through Princess Celeste. From somewhere deep in the newly opened passages came the sound of approaching footsteps. But these were different from any they had heard before. The Oracle emerged from the depths like a figure from legend. She was clearly Nexarian in origin, but ancient beyond measure? Her skin had taken on a translucent quality that allowed inner light to shine through, and her eyes held the wisdom of countless centuries. When she spoke, her voice carried harmonics that seemed to resonate in the bones of everyone present. "The time of choosing has come," she said, her gaze moving between Princess Celeste and the threatening figure of Kronos. The Bridge Walker must decide whether to fulfill her destiny or allow the galaxy to tear itself apart. Kronos hesitated for the first time since his arrival, his mechanical sensors apparently detecting something about the Oracle that even his enhanced systems couldn't fully analyze. "You're supposed to be a myth." "Myths," the Oracle replied with something approaching amusement, "often contain more truth than history books." She turned her attention to Princess Celeste. "Child of two worlds, you carry within you the genetic legacy of both human and Nexarian bloodlines. You are what your peoples could become if they chose cooperation over conquest." The revelation struck Jackson like a physical blow. Princess Celeste was part human. No wonder the Empress had specifically requested a human protector. It wasn't about demonstrating trust between species. It was about protecting someone who literally embodied that trust. "My father," Celeste whispered, understanding flooding her features. "He was human." The Oracle nodded. "A diplomat who believed that the future lay in unity between your peoples. Your mother loved him enough to risk everything, knowing that their union could create something unprecedented. You were the first successful bridge walker to be born in over 1,000 years." The sister's betrayal, before anyone could fully process this revelation. Another figure stepped from the shadows of the newly opened chambers. Jackson's heart sank as he recognized her from intelligence files. Nyx, Princess Celeste's younger sister. But there was something terribly wrong with her appearance. Her skin had taken on a dark, almost metallic sheen, and her eyes glowed with a cold light that held no warmth or recognition. Sister Nyx said, her voice carrying harmonics that hurt to hear. How touching to see you playing with your human pets, but playtime is over, Nyx. Celeste stepped toward her sister, hope and fear warring in her expression. What's happened to you, mother? Said you were away studying.
Yeah, I was studying.
Nyx replied with a smile that held no joy. Learning about power, about control, about what we could accomplish if we stopped pretending to be weak. General Torres showed me the truth about humans. They fear us, Celeste. They'll never accept us as equals. The mention of General Torres made Jackson's blood run cold. The human military leader had been pushing for aggressive action against the Nyxarian Empire for months, claiming they posed an existential threat to humanity. If he had gotten to Princess Celeste's sister, it meant the conspiracy reached the highest levels of both governments. Torres is using you, Celeste pleaded, just like someone used Zara and the others. You're not thinking clearly. I'm thinking more clearly than I ever have, Nyx shot back, her form beginning to shimmer with dark energy. Torres didn't control my mind, sister. He opened my eyes. Humans will never accept beings like us unless we force them to submit. And with my powers combined with their military might, we can reshape the galaxy. The Oracle stepped forward, her ancient voice carrying profound sadness. The dark path has claimed another. This is why bridge walkers became so rare. The power to connect different forms of existence can just as easily be used to dominate them. Final choice, the chamber erupted into chaos as Nyx unleashed her abilities. Unlike her sister's healing energy, Nyx's power was designed to destroy and control. Dark lightning crackled from her fingers, and the very air around her seemed to writhe. With malevolent force, Kronos, recognizing a more immediate threat, turned his weapons on the corrupted princess. Jackson grabbed Celeste and the Oracle, pulling them behind cover as energy blasts scorched the ancient stone. We need to get out of here, he shouted over the sound of destruction. No, the Oracle replied firmly. This ends here. The galaxy stands at a crossroads, and only the pure bridgewalker can guide it toward the light. She turned to Princess Celeste with urgency. Your sister has chosen the path of domination. She believes that forcing unity through fear is the only way to bring peace. You must show her, show everyone, that there is another way. I can't fight my own sister, Celeste protested, tears streaming down her face as she watched Nyx and Kronos battle with devastating force. You don't have to fight her, the Oracle said gently. You have to save her. Show her what true unity looks like. Princess Celeste stepped out from behind cover, her entire form beginning to glow with the purest light Jackson had ever seen. She didn't attack her sister or try to overpower her. Instead, she opened herself completely, projecting not just her energy, but her memories, her hopes, her love for both humans and Nyxarians. The projection filled the chamber with visions of what the galaxy could become. Humans and Nyxarians working together, sharing knowledge and culture, exploring the stars, as partners rather than conquerors. Children like Celeste herself, born from the union of different species, representing the best of both worlds. Nyx faltered, her dark energy wavering as she experienced her sister's vision. For a moment, her eyes cleared, and Jackson could see. The frightened young woman beneath the corruption. Celeste, she whispered. I was so afraid. Torres showed me visions of humans destroying our world, enslaving our people. I thought power was the only way to protect us. Power without compassion is just destruction, Celeste replied, extending her hand to her sister. We can build something beautiful. A new beginning. The resolution came not through violence, but through understanding. As the sisters embraced, their combined energies created something unprecedented. The ancient chamber filled with a light that seemed to heal the very fabric of reality. Kronos' mechanical augmentations began to fail. Not through attack, but because the energy around him was restoring his original biological form. For the first time in decades, he looked fully alive, What's happening to me? He gasped, staring. At his restored organic hand, you're being given a choice, the oracle explained. The Bridgewalker's power can undo the damage that hate and fear have caused, but the choice to accept healing must come from within. High above them, in the palace and throughout the city, similar transformations were taking place. The fear and suspicion that had divided humans and Nexarians began to fade as Princess Celeste's projections spread beyond the chamber. People on both sides began to see each other not as threats, but as potential partners in building a better future. Ambassador Finn, the diplomatic liaison between the two species, was among the first to feel the change. Later, he would describe it as suddenly being able to see the galaxy through different eyes, understanding that our differences were strengths rather than weaknesses. General Torres and Admiral Blackwood, confronted with the reality of what they had tried to destroy, found themselves facing courts-martial from their own governments. But even they were offered the chance at redemption, the opportunity to use their positions to build bridges rather than walls. In the weeks that followed, Princess Celeste and her sister became symbols of unity between the human and Nexarian empires. But more than that, they became teachers, showing others how to look beyond surface differences and find common ground. Jackson remained at Celeste's side, no longer as just a protector, but as a partner in building the new world they had envisioned. Their relationship deepened beyond duty into something that transcended species barriers, proving that love and understanding could flourish anywhere. As they stood together on the palace balcony, watching human and Nexarian children play together in the crystal gardens below, Celeste took his hand. "Do you think we've really changed anything?" she asked. Jackson squeezed her fingers gently, marveling at how perfectly their hands fit together despite their different origins. "Look around," he said softly. "The galaxy is full of Bridgewalkers now. People who choose understanding over fear, cooperation over conquest. You didn't just save your sister, Celeste. You saved all of us." The twin suns of Nexus Prime set, in a blaze of golden light, casting long shadows that seemed to embrace rather than divide. In the distance, ships from dozens of worlds approached the planet, bringing ambassadors eager to learn about this new way of existence. The age of the Bridgewalkers had truly begun, and with it, a future bright with infinite possibility.